Good morning, everyone. This is Training and AutoML Walkthrough Community Call on the 30th of April. This meeting will be recorded, and this meeting is governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct. Welcome, everyone. So maybe we can, just start this call as always with a quick introduction. Do we have any new people here on the call who just would introduce themselves? Just want to say hello to the community. Feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself and just say hello before we can get started. All right, then I guess we have a few things today to discuss on the agenda. I think more important about the release because we want to make this sometime this or next week for Kubeflow Trainer 2.0. But before I jump to this, I know we need Yuki to talk about. He probably will join in a few minutes this call. So maybe we can, go over all other items on the agenda to talk about these items first, and then jump to the release discussion. So let me just share my screen. Yeah, so I think like first of all, a few announcements, right? So we finally created a new repo called Kubeflow SDK, and I think this is great. Like it was a kind of a long effort for us to establish this, like this work overall. So just to remind everyone, the goal of all this initiative to provide a seamless ML experience for users who don't want to learn Kubernetes but still want to get value over Kubeflow. So the goal is to provide a simple interface, just a Pythonic-based experience, when users can just write their, ML code and use the Kubeflow services to scale it on top of Kubernetes, right? So they can use Kubeflow pipelines, Kubeflow Trainer, Kubeflow Optimizer / Katib, right? And any other tools together. So basically, you don't even need to learn Kubernetes to use Kubeflow services. And now, like we have some work going on with the local execution, which also will help to find more adoption across users who probably even don't want to install Kubernetes, but still get benefits from Kubeflow APIs. So they can have exactly the same experience they have locally and on the clouds using the same Python APIs. So this is a new repo. Please follow this repo. Like we kind of like right now working on transferring the SDK and also transferring the issues. So if you want to help, again, I will try to mark some issues with good first issues because there are still work needs to be done there. But I think like the more important for us right now is the migration. Yeah, so any questions? I know we have two topics on the SDK. Any questions for the SDK before we jump to the next items? Yeah, I will link the design doc for this proposal and also the repo by itself. Yeah, so again, initially we will only support, trainer or train job, right? And we will do migration, and then in the future we will support more Kubeflow projects like Kubeflow pipelines, Kubeflow Katib, right, and other things. Oh, all right.
I think one question, I think yesterday in community call it was discussed. Are we planning for like CLI tool as well or just SDK for now? Like, I mean, as of now, what is the
Yeah.
plan?
Yeah. So for CLI, I think we should speak with, I know, for example, Bosch Europe has this project called KJob. Um, so not this one. Okay, let me try to search it. So Kubernetes Batch Working Group has this project called KJob CTL, which like a tool to managing ML jobs on top of Kubernetes. So we have this tool also have Arena project. So let me pay those notes. So CLI for ML experience, right? So we have this project going on. We also have Arena and the Kubeflow. So Arena is mostly for submitting the Kubeflow jobs, Kubeflow CRDs. So we also need to explore this one. So before actually starting something new, I would love us to see like how we can collaborate with existing tooling, right? And then maybe give the experience, right? Because on the CLI side, I think the question that I have like for users, if we give them like the best Python experience, what is the motivation to have CLI, right? Of course, like, many MLEs, they may be migrated from Slurm, right? from other tools where CLI is the main interface, but do they really need it, right? The question we should ask them, right?
Yeah, and well, SDK part I get it. Like why someone they don't want to use like full-fledged project from Kubeflow. They want to just integrate it. Maybe just wondering like CLI, if not, the question was again if we are going to do that or not.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think like not in the near future. In the future, yes. I mean, I think like we just need ML engineers to speak up, right?
Mhm.
To attend these calls and speak up like why they need it. Maybe we should have some sessions to discuss what is the motivation for them to using binary rather than using Python. Is because of the Python version compatibility, or is because of CLI gives them additional tools on top, right? So this I would
Yeah.
love to learn more. Yeah, go ahead, Zed.
I don't think from a ML or data science point of view, like they need that to use a CLI. They probably don't have much experience with Kubernetes at all. They might use the SDK. The CLI might be useful for MLOps engineers who might need to manage runtimes or create
Mhm.
resources or whatsoever. That's the only way I see like that could be used.
Yeah.
And we could easily get a CLI from Python. I think that will become naturally if we look at the second topic, which is like generating models for CRD or CRDs from the
Yep.
Kubeflow SDK. That could happen naturally and could have a CLI in Python. Or if we need in Golang, that's also possible. So,
Mhm.
but I don't think for data scientists, maybe for MLOps or cluster administrators.
Yeah, I know KFP has CLI, for example, to compile images, right? For example. Um, so KFP has this its own CLI that they maintain. So maybe like I would love to understand like for what are like what kind of capabilities you want to add to the CLI compared to just using native kubectl, right? Or, is there something we want to build on top? So this I think we need to figure out. Yeah, but anyway, let's follow up on this. Akash, if you know any MLAs who just want to attend and speak about their experience, please ask them to join these calls. We can definitely talk more on these experiences.
Sure, sure, sure. I think
Right.
we do have surveys as well. I think we can check the feedbacks there as well.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds great. All right. So speaking of this topic, like Anya, Yoin, do you want to
Yep.
just share your screen, or how do you want to try it?
I think you can just access this
Okay.
document and then it's fine. Yeah, so me and Owen, we've been trying to figure out what's the best way to handle models across different Kubeflow components as we are just building Kubeflow SDK. So yeah, we just put this document exploring the problem and some possible solutions. You can scroll
Mhm.
down, it will be. Yeah, and after some investigation, we are leaning towards having each Kubeflow component publish its own models as a library that the SDK can import then. For
Yep.
example, the trainer will have like a package, Kubeflow trainer API, published on PyPy, and then the SDK will just import those libraries and update the versions in the PyProject TOML. Yeah, it seems to be the most reasonable option. It has a lot of pros. We also consider other options, but they have more cons. So yeah, we just wanted to bring this topic to the community and hear your thoughts. And Owen, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. Go again.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so there's a couple of options there. Yeah, after weighing up the options, I think each component kind of managing its own API, its own Python API, and publishing that seemed to be kind of most reasonable, most flexible. There were some talks about this option two, the SDK generating the models, which wouldn't require publishing packages to PyPy. But of course, if we look at like other components, like you were mentioning the CLI earlier, other consumers might want to access these packages. So I think it would be no harm for each component to publish them. Then also having like a unified repo for models was another option. So one pro obviously is that we'd have one place for all Kubeflow models, which is also kind of a con because each component is tied to the same release of the models package in this unified models package. And they do not kind of version their models independently of other components. Yeah, and if we did decide that we wanted to have kind of a new repo for these models, option one, where each component does publish its own Python API, would make this possible to. We could just create a repo that imports all the or yeah, it will just import the specified versions that we want for a specific kind of unified models release, and just import those in init files. Should be simple enough to do. Yeah, I think that fourth point, somebody had brought that up on a call previously, but we're kind of unsure about the details of that. I'm not sure if somebody here on the call knows anything about that.
Yeah. So I think I think we discussed a little bit before that should be some of those models has the same APIs, right? So is there any reason for us to combine them to the single package, right? To single open API spec? Looking at I think this is great. So looking at the size, and I know I also tried to see like the size of this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
earlier before, just it's almost 9 megabytes, the size of trainer models. Quite a lot.
Yeah, this is another thing that kind of we came up. If you scroll down to, I think there's like a to-do section or something. There's quite a lot of core Kubernetes types and job set types that are generated but not used. I think we could, as part of this work, maybe look into thinning that out a little bit, perhaps deleting any unused kind of core Kubernetes types or job set types, so that they're
So I think this is done actually on purpose. So we need to have them to have the proper serialization because we use Pydantic there. So the thing is, like, if you don't have these types there, it won't be possible for us to serialize and deserialize objects.
Okay, even unused types are required for Pydantic, is that correct?
Yeah, can you give me like example of unused types? Like which unused types did you find there?
So I'm not sure. There's quite a few types in the models trainer API that we did see were used. I can perhaps just do a search for the types that are used, and any that aren't included in that could be perhaps removed.
Yeah, so for example, the job set, the trainer uses only replicated job in the utils, and that's it. But there are a lot of other job sets in there.
So I think like again, this is used because this OpenAPI spec, right? It's like this Swagger, right? It's been generated by using this OpenAPI generated package that we have, right? And here you can see all the definitions, right? So if you go over the definitions, you actually will figure out that even since we use only replicated jobs, replicated jobs. I think so. The entire job set also I think should be here. Replicated jobs is here, right? But we don't, for example, like we don't have the job set. But it's okay, we have it here, right? I think we need to figure out what is required for serialization and deserialization. And yes, probably like there will be a possibility for us to remove something, but I'm not sure how we can do this using the Kube Open API generator. Because this file is being generated using this this script, the code again, right?
On the bottom, I guess.
Yeah, externals, right? Externals.
Then it's on the.
Yep, this one, right? Extra packages. So the trick is there is no way for us to. So because job set source is a single API, right? You cannot add extra packages under. So basically, you need to do a lot of post processing, right? Like you need to have post processing job which will clean up those unused files, right?
Right, something like that after generating them all. Just
Like
necessary ones. Yeah.
I guess the question is if it is just 8 megabytes, right? What we're trying to optimize, right? Like what is the point of optimization, right? Because right now I guess like the entire models it's just 8 megabytes, right? I mean, do we try to optimize the size of the library?
Yeah, I think it's no harm thinking about this.
Okay.
As you say, this is not massive at the moment at 9 MB, but I think it's no harm kind of considering this while we're talking about a new approach to managing these models. But
Yeah. So yeah. Good. I think point again. I think option one makes sense. I think it's mostly maybe we can do it after this. So this is not the I guess the kind of P1 to P2, right? So it's not P1 basically because we can release the SDK and put models there right now, right? To continue to do the work.
right, and we already have a PR that kind of
Yeah.
PR status opened includes this models directory already. So yeah, it could be something after that initialization that we include these.
Yes, Adi, you have your hands up. Go ahead.
Yeah, would we put these like models or libraries, keep it in the component repository and just tag them there with the same tag as the model as the component, and maybe we can publish it from there, like Kubeflow trainer models or Python. Like usually, I would say like we can create a single repository for Python API clients or models, which contains all the models for everything. And if you would like to deal with Kubernetes CRDs or whatsoever, you can use these, and then we can import it and make dependency on it in the SDK and leverage it in the SDK to just separate concerns. But if we prefer solution number one, we can keep the models auto-generated and kept in the library of the component, so it will have the same tag, same versions like the component itself, and then we just like add dependency on it from there. How does that
Yeah.
sound?
So I think dependency. So the version of this model should be the same as version of trainer, right? Because the
Yeah.
API is the same, right?
Yes.
Um,
So if
yes,
it kept
yeah, good,
so
good.
if it is kept in the same repository and we tag it along with the repository or the component,
Mhm.
it will make sure like for trainer 2 we have models 2, trainer 2.1 we have models
Yeah.
2.1, and so on for other
Yeah,
other
that
components.
makes sense. So and we can even like do this without publishing, right?
Yeah,
So
we can add it as a Git dependency.
as a Git dependency, right? Okay, so do we need to do it before release in that case? Because then I think we don't need to migrate models, right? We only need to migrate SDK, right?
Yes, I think it might be part of the release.
Mm.
Like so we find a way to tag it, version it, and
Mhm.
keep it as part of the release. So with every single release, it gets
Mhm.
new tag, new version, and so on.
Any thoughts where we should put those models, under APIs or because it's not SDK, right? Because we're going to only have models, right? And that's it.
Yeah, looking at other projects who actually do that, I think, for example, Kubeflow, they do ship Python API clients as part of their repository,
Mhm.
and it's very minimal. I think it just has the models and can interact with the API. And
Yeah, because we don't. Yeah, I think right now we only use Kubernetes Python client. We don't use this Open API, REST API service, right? If I remember correctly.
yeah,
Yeah, we only have models, types, and so all this is SDK. So only models we need to publish them. So, but I don't think we should put them on the SDK, right? We should put them on the separate,
Yeah.
separate location, right? Yeah, good.
Yeah. If you see what KFP does, I think it's in that document somewhere under like existing models. KFP puts them in API, V2 Alpha Python.
Mm-hmm.
Could be something like that, maybe.
Yeah. So we already have API here. We have just open API spec, right? So maybe in addition to open API spec, we can create another, subfolder here called, what is it? CRDs or I don't know, V1 Alpha 2. So when we're going to have two versions of train jobs, are we going to have two versions of models? No, right? Because it will be a single package, right? Um,
or sorry, can you repeat that
so
question?
like for example, like if tomorrow we're going to have a new version for training runtime, like V1 Alpha 2, right?
Yeah.
I think we still use the same models as the package to publish them. We don't need two separate packages. Um,
I don't think we would have to separate packages. I think we would just like if there is a major change for V1 and V2, then we would have to do that. But I think for V1, we're also keeping the SDK as part of the repository. But when we tag, we'll have to delete the SDK folder and just keep the models directly.
Yeah. So again, I think we can just store them in the API, for example, right? We can have a subfolder here and store this Python package here, right? And publish them in the future to PyP. And just I think we need to adjust our script to just generate these models, not in this repo, right? Not in the SDK repo, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the init part, I remember like also the part of this init py, right? Oh no, this is not being generated by the open. But we need to figure out like what is generated by the open API, right? Open API generator. Because then the question, do we need open API generator now Kubeflow/SDK, or we don't need it at all, right?
I would say it depends on what we consider the models in our definition. I think there might be types that we define to make the SDK more usable, abstract Kubernetes clusters and stuff. But if we're only focusing on Kubernetes stuff, then we can just generate it from OpenAPI specs for the trainer, and that should be it. And any custom types can live in the SDK because it doesn't have to deal with it.
Yeah. That should be done. Like my only question, I think the init. So I know we previously we've done some post processing on the hack, right, on the script when we generate this SDK. I think right now what we just do, we just simply say we only add like the models, and we don't do any model tests, model docs, and supporting files. We only add the init.py. So some of this maybe needs to be adjusted. Just what I want to say, right? When all right. Yeah, so I think this is great. So anyone just want to drive it, and before we can migrate the code, who wants to do it?
I think myself and Anya can drive this.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be really nice if we can do it before we release 2.0. So sometimes this one early next week.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think this will be great. Yeah, let me add the next steps. Yeah, and I guess then we need to have a separate Py project there, right? For now, even that we don't publish it to PyP, right? We can call this similar to proposal. You have this name like Kubeflow Trainer API. You call it, right?
Right, something like that. Yeah.
So KFP, don't know, KFP has its own also like gRPC API server project, right? They publish it. It's not. It's on the backend if I remember correctly. API. So do you remember like KFP? Where do they publish the API service? So the API client, right? They have HTTP Python client, right? KFP server API, they call it, right? Okay, but it's slightly different. It's a gRPC API server they publish, right? Yeah, so anyway, let's figure out this offline. Let's just, think how we can structure this Py project and what would be the name there, right? So we can move forward. Okay.
One suggestion before we leave this one, I'm sorry for an interruption here. It could be like if we have another namespace like Kubeflow API models or Kubeflow API models would make sense because like if Kubeflow models might overlap with machine learning models and stuff. And then we can use something like extras or whatsoever and just like try to release them as a single or like same thing, which is like Kubeflow API models, and then you have an extras for trainer, extras for this, extras for that. But I don't know if we can do it from multiple repositories or we can just do it from, or we have to do it from a single repository. That's might be another suggestion. But we can follow up on this locally or async in that stack.
Yeah, let's propose the ideas for naming. Maybe you can call the package Kubeflow Trainer API, and under this Trainer API, we can have Kubeflow Trainer dots, for example, models, right? So then you don't need to, because I think the OpenAPI spec has OpenAPI generator I don't know if it can generate models from different folder. Otherwise, you need to do some post-processing, right? So you have a subfolder there, right? But the package by itself can just name Kubeflow Trainer API, for example, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it like that for now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So before we jump to local execution, let me maybe quickly speak about the release because I know Yuki just joined. So on the release, again, I think this is the blocking for us, right? So maybe Ian or Annie, if you can create the tracking issue so we can add it to a milestone, that will be nice, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Any other? So I know we've done some progress for V2 release, right? We have some pending PRs, like the finalizer PR, the job created PR, and the pod spec overrides. What first we want to talk about?
Let's talk about status. We move to 621.
Yeah, so we need to kind of, I think that the final agreement was to remove created condition from train job and only keep succeeded or complete or failed for now, to not introduce breaking changes in the future. In the future, we're going to probably create more granular statuses for train job, but not in this release. So I think the only confusion here that we need to figure out, does it make sense to name the condition runtime creation, right, as you propose, Anthony, right?
Sorry, can you introduce new reasons? Actually, I did not yet review this.
Yeah. So it's not a runtime creation condition. It's the reason of the fail. So basically, what you've said, Andre, like keeping the existing condition and remove the created one. That is what we are discussing right now. Is the reason that we want to set on the failed condition. This is what we are discussing. So the reason. There are some paths, some cases that are not captured at the moment. Like for example, when the runtime reference is broken, like you create a train job, it points to a non-existing training runtime. At the moment, as Yuki pointed out, like it's how could I say, like it does not surface basically. It's going to back off and the reconcile method is going to get called, but there is no, aside the logs, the operator log, there is no visible sign of that misconfiguration. So in those cases, indeed, it would be good that we, and that was Yuki that suggested that we set the train job in failed condition. And that, if I may, like that is good in the sense that general failed condition is a terminal state generally in the finite state machine we have. Like it's a terminal state. Like it cannot, if anything external is done to the train job, it won't change the state of the system. So in that, for example, for misconfiguration, indeed, we put it in failed. We set the failed condition, and we have to decide what's the reason there. Like, so you, Andre, you mentioned that there used to be some train job build creation failed reason, some other stuff. And my point is that build, before you explain it to me, like build, I didn't really understand what build was in the context of the train job. Like to me, it's more like misconfiguration. And for those like issues, I think it's good that we put the failed condition and say, I don't know, configuration invalid or something that we have to decide as a reason of the failed condition. Now, if I may, and I'll pause after that, and sorry for the lengthy context, but then there is some other case which are technical, like that may be transient. For example, the one, and that was the other like existing reason, which, for example, when we create the resources, the child resources for the children resources for the train job. It may be that indeed the client fails when you call to the Kubernetes API server, it fails. And then what do we do there? At the moment, indeed, it does not surface. It back off, it calls the reconcile. The thing is, so we can say, and that was Yuki suggesting it, like we set the fail condition as well. The only, to me, thing, it's not really a terminal state then, because maybe it's a transient issue, and for the next reconcile call, back off retry, it'll work. But then that is not misconfiguration. It's more like runtime creation failure.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so I think the question is like for this jobs creation failure, like it's a terminate condition, right? Do we need to put this in a failed state, right? Like when we
It's fine. I think it's okay. I mean, it may be even for transient error that happens during the creation of the resources, the train job resources. We can set the fail condition. We just have to clear it once it finally passed after the next retry.
No, but the thing is, like, if it is not terminate condition, we shouldn't do this, right? Because failed is a terminate,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. At the moment, the failed condition to me, as far as I can tell, is a terminal state. We can, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion to break that semantic or that constraint. The failed condition can be not a terminal state. Why not?
I think right now, so you could point me if I'm wrong, but if the jobs creation failed, we put train job in a terminating stage, right? We don't reconcile if some of those resources creation but failed, right?
No. It back off. It back off, and it back off, and it's going to be retried.
Okay, I see.
Yes. I agree with Anthony. If we do not reconcile against failed train job, we need to count how many train job failed in the train job status or some else. Actually, in Kubernetes job, we count how many parts already finished, already completed, already finished, failure. I guess if we need to introduce a similar mechanism, but for now, we just retry in the next reconcile loop. Just retry.
Yeah, so in that case, so we don't want to introduce this reason, right? We just want to ignore it, right? This jobs build creation failed, right?
I would
in
say
that case,
yeah, sorry, Yuki.
so go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead, please.
So in that case, so how to figure out terminal state? No. So actually, so so if I understand correctly, you want to avoid adding failure reason to failure condition type, right? Andre, right?
Yeah, the problem is this condition is not terminate, right? Jobs creation failed because we need to reconcile the train job, right? Which means like we cannot just if we face this reason, we cannot just put train job in the failed state, right? Failed state is a terminated condition. Yeah.
Technically, it can, but that means it's not a terminal state in all cases.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it will be problematic, right?
Because it's just terminal state. Maybe some tooling or some client may consider that the job is done, basically. Like unless basically it's done. Like there is no need to watch for it anymore. Like because it's yeah.
I think for now, again, if we're going to remove the created condition, right, for now we should just keep retrying, right? Because like
That's the simplest. That's the simplest. We can, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We can revisit what we want to do in that case and surface.
yeah,
Because at the moment I agree from a client standpoint, and client being either an end user or whatever tool. That is invisible basically. It's only visible in the
And
logs.
what about propagating this to the events of the train job?
Yeah, that could be. We could emit events. Probably that would be,
It will
yeah.
be not break. Yeah, good.
Just to finish on that, it probably be a larger. Even myself, I don't know what's the state of the event that we publish, but it could be an idea to. Generally, event is one channel to surface. Yeah, we still need to really be conclusive on what we want to do for the status of the object in that case.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, no, but if we're going to remove event in the future, it will be also breaking change somehow.
We could say it's in back off. Like for example, like if we were to introduce an equivalent of the once we mature the topic, once we reintroduce an equivalent of the job created, then we could set it to false, and the reason would be it's backing off, and the message being the error of the why it's backing off. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
plus the event, but it's orthogonal to many events. It's a good point, but to me it's an addition. And saying that, meaning that you're right. To me, the simplest path, which I think is the reason why we actually created that PR. We want to release as soon as possible without introducing any breaking changes. And the simplest path to that is just not to touch the failed. In that case, we know it's there. It's not optimal, but let's think a bit more about it, maybe.
Yeah. And, okay. And users can always check the controller logs, right? I mean, it's not like ML, but
Yeah.
admins,
Yeah.
right? So you get any concerns like with it if we just, don't do anything in case of job creation failure?
Ideally, we want to introduce backup parameters, which is how many times do we need to retry building the jobs,
So
and
that you key as far, but I'm sure you know it, but as far as I understand, it's a parameter of the queue inside the controller runtime, like the number of time it retries, the exponential parameter for the backoff. It's there is a maximum retry already, a parameter that's default to 5, or I don't know. But I'm saying, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's global to the operator, the controller runtime configuration at the moment.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, so once the number of reconciliation reaches the backup limitations, we just stop to reconcile against the failure job and just mark job as terminal state as failed.
As failed, exactly. Yeah, you're right. And once he has like reached the maximum retry, then only then it should be put in failed terminal state.
Yeah. Because in the current job pipeline system, we use patch apply system. This technically sometimes fail due
absolutely.
to the outdated resource versions, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So this retry mechanism could resolve this problem at the moment, maybe.
Okay, so do we want to do it before release? My only question.
I'd be inclined to say just not to not put that on the critical path of the V2 release, and we can create maybe an issue just to revisit. Or it's existing actually the PR. I didn't mark it as fixing the issue that you created on, because to me it's only like a temporary solution until we tackle
Yeah.
the.
Yes, I think so.
Yes,
and-
I fully agree.
Yeah, so for train job configuration failure, we agree that right now it could be terminating stage, right? If the job build fails, right?
Yes.
So the reason will be train job configuration invalid, right? The reason if the build fails, right?
So that one that I mentioned is the other case that you mentioned, Andre,
Yeah.
which is when we know it's not going to work. Like for example, the broken runtime trending
Yeah,
runtime reference. There, it's clear it's not going to work, and we can put it in a well-known reason failed condition. Then it's more like, for example, when we apply, for example, the child resources, like and for some reason, like the API server, the creation fail, that is how could I say, where the question is, do we as far as I understand of the discussion we've just had, we don't put the train job in the failed condition terminal state in that case. But
yeah, okay. So we do the same as when the job builds fail, right? For now, we also do retries, right?
we can, and that'll be the
Yeah,
simplest.
I think it depends what's happening inside the plugins, right? So if
Exactly, and also it depends on what happens to the inside the plugin. Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
so I think it's similar, right? So
Yeah.
okay, we can. I mean, okay, we can remove everything for now. I mean, I think like it's probably should be okay for the first release. Yeah, I don't know if you do have any strong objections. Just remove everything and put train job in a failed state only when job set fails.
Yeah, okay. So actually, so our timeline is so tight. So I just want to issue the event when job creation failed. I
Okay.
guess this could help
Yeah.
debugging,
Yeah,
right?
we can.
Event,
we
yeah.
can-
Mhm.
Go ahead, Andre.
No, event should work. The only question that I have, like, event, is it the breaking change for us? We're going to remove the event in the future.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Strictly speaking, it will be a breaking change, but the likelihood that someone
Yeah, we don't need
using
API upgrade basically, right? We still can simply
true.
leave one
Yeah,
up.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not part.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to publish events, like at least some sort of debugability. So, like, do we want to? Okay, Antonio, do you think you can try to do it on your PR to at least maybe publish this as?
I can try to emit an event. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that will basically unblock users to see, to understand what's happening, and also unblock us to move forward, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And if I just doubling check that with you now that we are on
Yeah.
it, I removed the extra commit I added that puts the train job in the failed condition at the moment for
Okay.
when that happens.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes.
So anything else? Yeah. So I know, so there is 3 PRs we really need help from community to review. So there are, we have 2 PRs from Yuki to have finalizer. Also have PR for pod spec overrides, which needs to be there. And we have this work that Xiao is doing for LLM trainer, right? Any volunteers who can help us to review PRs from the community? Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
I'm volunteering. I can review PRs. No
Yeah,
issues.
so I think that will be helpful again, just to take a look like I try to, so I add all the blocking PRs in this milestone, these issues, right? But the most important, like pod spec overrides and PRs for finalizer to not allow users to remove class of training runtime as train job is great. I think this is already finished, right, Yuki? We can probably merge it once you just do this simple change, and we need to review a
Yes,
second
yes.
PR, yeah.
Just clean up. Yeah.
Okay. So Xiao, since you're also here, so from the torch tune work, right? The work stream. What
Yeah.
other is there?
Yeah, I will link the PR to the doc. Currently, I'm working on the training runtime. Yeah, I'm sure. I think I can address it today. And one question is about the plugin and the PVC.
Yeah. So I think maybe
Yeah.
one quick question to the community. So yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to only define this PVC creation logic in the Torch plugin? Maybe other framework like Torch and DeepSeed and NPI will also need the PVC.
No, I don't think so. I think there will be some sort of exception. So my only question, like, do you think it is okay for now, because we don't have stateful job sets, to include the orchestration of PVC inside the Torch plugin for Torch Tune? The problem is because those LLMs require PVCs, right?
Sorry, could you introduce background this
Yeah. So
URL?
if you remember correctly, in the V1, right, we kind of like creating PVC as part of the SDK, because like
Yes.
PVC is required for users to share data set and model between the nodes, right? I understand that,
Yes.
it's kind of more complex topic because, you might want to have your own storage class, PVC configuration, right? But for now, should we just, because we don't have stateful job sets, this volume claim creation, right? The one that we discussed before. Can we orchestrate PVC as part of the Torch plugin for those runtimes? Like, because the volume it is required for us to share volume between those replicated jobs, right?
Yeah, I guess we implement volume creation logic into plugin mechanism. We might face building failure, maybe
Yeah.
if there is enough volume related resources in Kubernetes. After that, our entire job build logic fail, maybe. This is main concern.
That
Yeah.
could happen. I think that could happen. I think like we can probably tolerate it in the first release because, in any case we're going to deprecate this functionality in the future, right? I think it's just, the simplest change we can do to at least give users some way to test those runtimes, right?
Another way is to create it in the SDK.
Yeah, but then YAMLs won't work, right? So
yeah.
Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah. Just when I made that comment about the PVC, so as you said, like Andre, it's a complex topic. There are multiple aspects of it. My point was just like maybe that should be documented at the moment, like for the first release, like that. Maybe it should be that PVC should be provided created before and by the user in its own tenant, and to me, I would say it's fine, but at least that it's documented. Then I understand we maybe find some more optimal way and a better user experience around that.
Yeah.
But I guess my point being maybe we should not rush into a technical solution and maybe just documentation at the moment would be fine.
Yeah, I also was thinking the same way, like, the orchestration will be required, right? Yeah, maybe it's fine. So yeah, go ahead, Yuki.
Instead of implementing mutating mechanism, can we implement validation mechanism? If we just check if the runtime is satisfies the volume creation criteria.
You mean checking validation webhook, like if PVC exists?
Yes.
Yeah, we can do it.
I think so. Yeah, we just need to check the PVC, and we can provide an example contains the PVC creation example for users and ask them to create the PVC before they apply the change job.
Yeah, and they need to do before the train job, not before the runtime, because PVC is namespace scoped, right? So yeah, maybe it's like this simplest way to just add this to the docs, right? And
yes, and I will work on the.
Yeah, go ahead, Yuki.
Or we might add events when we face volume creation error. The
Yeah.
problem is we want to expose information to users. So
Yeah.
even webhook, even events. So exposing is matter. So this is my opinion.
Okay. Let's see choose documentation and let's for now not update plugin or SDK, right, for this implementation, right? All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Sounds good.
And I will work on the stateful job set to include the job to include volume
Yeah, I think
orchestration in the next release, maybe.
Yeah, Shao, I think that might require a few months of work because I don't know if we need to do it on a job site on a job site.
Yeah.
Let's take on let's speak on this once we have time after the release because we need to speak with Batch working group like where they should live, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you go ahead.
I think both level is helpful. Yeah, actually, batch job is not only for train job, not only for job set, right? Yeah. So I think both level help. Just a comment.
Yeah, I know. So I know we don't have a lot of time to discuss other topics, but I think the release is very important for us to make it this next week. I know. So just quickly go over other items. I know, like Sat, you created this cap for local execution. I will try to take a look on the weekend, on your cap, and I think the local execution, first of all, what we need to do, we need to migrate the SDK, right?
Yeah.
To migrate the SDK, we need to finish all the pending PRs and the Kubeflow trainer repo, right?
Yes. By the way, we have a PR already ready for local execution if we want to merge it on the trainer before we migrate to SDK. So it could be either or, but yeah.
I just would love to first of all review cap, at
Perfect.
least, yeah, from our side, so we can think about like how we should publish this local execution, right? Yeah, and then I think we should push local execution to the SDK, right? Because first of all, we need to just migration with existing SDK, right?
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Makes sense.
So I suggest let's do this work that Anya and Ian working on for models before the release, right? Then let's finish all the PRs and the Kubeflow trainer, or we can just close and ask contributors to open this in a new repo, right?
Okay.
So maybe like the good next step would be maybe, Sat, if you can go over the PRs in the repo and just maybe ping me what needs to be closed or reopen, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And that would
Cool.
then we can do migration, right?
Yeah, perfect. I'll do that and I'll help Anya and Owen as well. No problem.
I think for UV, we also need. Can you create also tracking issue for UV?
Okay.
I think we already have tracking issue. We just need to transfer this, right? So we can use transfer SDK. Yeah, I think it's transfer SDK should work. Yes. Any other things? So I guess the website doc updates. This we need volunteers to help us, right? To improve docs. We have few pending PRs, so if someone maybe can go over it and push this forward to the website. Any specific suggestions? Like, what do you think we can do?
So are we able to catch the release before 1.10.1?
So we still not sure if 1.10.1 will include Kubeflow trainer, right?
Yes.
We're still discussing this with the manifest working group to see if this will be part of the 1.10.1. In any case, like despite on the Kubeflow manifest releases, right? We should still release it for Kubeflow training operator users. But after we do this, I think we can include this, as part of the manifest as well, right?
Yeah. It's just like and it depends on whether we're going to catch the deadline or not. If we're going to, then we'll probably need to add more stuff on V2. If we're not, we probably have to revert to V1 to keep consistency with our website. Or do we have a certain direction? Or
I think website right now suggests users to already use Kubeflow Trainer V2, right?
Yeah.
Even that we don't have releases, and I think we mentioned this in the website. So I think the goal is to improve the communication. So, despite on Kubeflow manifest releases, we need to constantly improve docs, and we need to update, add this migration guides, add the guides for PyTorch and other things right there.
Yeah.
So-
Okay, cool. So we can add it on the branch that it belongs to. So the website has different versions and different branches, so we can maybe
Yeah, so
update the docs.
Kubeflow manifest branch, right? We still don't have a branch here, right? Do we? No, we have 1.10, right? Yeah, we
It
don't have
doesn't work.
1.10 branch.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, Kubeflow 1.10 does not include Kubeflow Trainer v2, right?
Yes.
If people want to use Kubeflow Trainer, they need to go to the website and go to this section, right? To review it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, I don't see any problems for us to just, constantly updating the master branch for the Kubeflow Trainer docs, right?
Cool. So I think a good start would be like adding some issues that what needs to be tracked, and I would advise the community, like if people
Yeah.
would like to see documentation update, which guides are you guys interested in adding more documentation to? And then we can look for volunteers. I'll try to create a couple of issues like on some of the guides and maybe
Okay.
others. It's just like which documentation you think it's lacking or you can find is lagging behind, so we can get volunteers to work on it.
Yep, makes sense. And I think we already have few of the website. So first of all, maybe that will be useful if you can go over like created issues on the website, right? So docs, right? Area docs.
Yeah.
And for example, like user guides for PyTorch training, right? Or I know we already have some pending PRs for these issues.
Yep.
All right, so now we're almost over time. So, but Akash, you want to talk about blueprints a little bit? Is there any urgent things you want from us, or we can talk it offline?
I'll finish wrap it fast. So first of all, for Victor, I asked him about any timeline or any specs. That's what we discussed.
Okay.
He was on leave. I think he told he will reply by today or tomorrow. So I'll update accordingly on the Slack. But I feel, if that part is clear, a lot of our things which we are planning now will be easier to plan. So first is from Victor, follow up from Victor. Second, I was running even during now also. Now itself, I was running the test. Some modification we need, like for when we are using GPU with the self runner, some cleanup and other. And since I'm using my own system, some other cleanup is there. But I think I have good progress. Once this has something to show, I'll have demo. So for now, I didn't face any much issue. I followed the documentation where I can install GPU on the kind cluster. Cluster also it can create directly on the system, and a few tests were like lagging. There was some other problem. So, but I think we have decent enough progress. The reason I put it there, so at least one follow up there from your side and from the community as well. Okay, we are doing something on this direction.
Okay, yeah, I think that's good. So let's follow up with Victor offline, and for if Victor can give us some sort of resources or help to push this forward, that will be really nice, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, sounds great. So any last questions, comments? All right, then. So then let's try to again finalize these pending PRs this and next week. I really hope that we can, soon release the Kubeflow Trainer v2. And again, like our goal will be to still maintain Training Operator 1.9, and I will planning to release the 1.9.2 this week as well to include this in the Kubeflow manifest 1.10.1. Because we have few bug fixes in Training Operator. But the goal for us to maintain Training Operator for some time, so users can do migration in the next year or so. Yeah, but we will slowly, have feature parity between Training Operator and Trainer, which we don't have today. For example, TensorFlow, we're working on TensorFlow runtimes, right, and other things like JAX, for example, right? Yeah, so anyway, let's follow up and we will do like more regular releases for Trainer moving forward. Like maybe every quarter we can do the release, right? Or every 3 months, because it will be much easier. All right. Thanks, guys. So in that case, so let's sync in 2 weeks. Let's sync offline for the release pending items, and I guess we can follow up on other items as well. Right. Thanks, everyone. Speak to you soon.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.